Thanks for staying with us. It's Tuesday, so we must touch on health. World Environmental Day is the largest global platform for environmental public outreach, and it's celebrated by millions of people across the world. According to their website, their theme this year is #Beat Plastic Pollution. In commemoration of the World Environmental Day, we have Dr. Tunde Ayeye. He is a public health consultant who's going to be talking to us on how we can indeed beat plastic pollution in Nigeria. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you. We're pretty excited to have you because we know we have an environmentalist here on the show. She loves the environment and she's chasing away all our, she's protecting all our vultures. Everybody knows that, Mama Vulture. But so she's kind of really brought us up to speed on the importance of environment and protecting the environment. But let us talk about June 5th, which is actually the World Environmental Day. What would you do? Because you also know that they're the chief cleaner, national president, the chief, the cleaners practitioners of Nigeria.
Correct.
So you are the chief cleaner.
I'm number one Nigerian cleaner.
Since you are number one Nigerian cleaner, African Nigerian cleaner, tell us what your role is in cleaning up an environment and what you hope Nigerians can begin to see the importance of cleaning our environment.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Good morning to the viewers. I think this is such an important topic. Right. Our environment speaks to everything. I've listened to some of the things we've been talking about and some of the issues we've been talking about. Society is one large body and everything affects every other thing. I mean, primarily I'm a physician. That's where I started our life from. So your health, your environment, your person, your productivity, all of these things are tied together. Just before I talk about the World Environment Day, I always like to domesticate my own opinion because this is Nigeria, this is sub-Saharan Africa.
Right.
And we have all of these days and all of these global days. We need to try and domesticate it. What is the environment to us? In Nigeria, what is the environment and what is the impact? What is the impact on productivity? What is the impact on health? What is the impact on my under-5 mortality? What is the impact on my neonatal and maternal mortality? All right, before we start talking about all the esoteric things of, green gas emissions and greenhouse emissions and things like that, and conservation. We're talking about a country of probably 130 or 150 million multidimensionally poor people. So we really need to hone down. But coming to the World Environment Day itself, it's a day that is set aside to sort of speak to pertinent issues. One of the biggest problems today in the world is plastic pollution, right? We've migrated over time globally from using glass, et cetera, to using a lot of PVCs and plastics, et cetera, for water, for name it, for bottles, for whatever, in every sector. And because we didn't plan for the impact on the environment, everywhere you look, there is water, what do we call that thing? Pure water sachet, there is plastic. It's all over, and it is damaging our environment. It's damaging our waterways, it's damaging our streets, it's damaging our environment. And so this year, the theme is how to beat plastic pollution, and every locality is meant to come up with what it is that they can do in their own environment to deal with that.
Questions for you. Okay.
Yes, I love the fact that you say, because sometimes when we talk about environmental issues, it sounds so far away because of the world environment. But I love that you say we should domesticate it and what does it mean to us. So maybe if given the fact that you're involved in cleaning up the environment, Nigerian environment, and also, being part of the environmental sphere, how would you speak to Nigerians concerning the importance of using less plastic or using other alternatives to plastic? What kind of message can we give out that would appeal to Nigerians, that will understand and will be more relatable to them?
Okay, so thank you so much. So when we talk about Nigerians, we're talking about every strata of Nigeria because we all have roles and responsibilities. And so I'm going to sort of speak to that in 3 dimensions, right? What we need to do with respect to beating plastic pollution, but I'd rather even want us to say this as a microcosm of what we need to do to get our environment working for us. So the first, and as usual, is what is the role of government in this. What is the role of government? Government is meant to enact the right policies. I guess I'm probably the oldest on this table, right? But I do remember that growing up, soft drinks was done in bottles.
Yes.
In crates. And typically when mom sends you to go and buy a crate of mineral, you actually take a bottle to exchange.
Right.
All right? So that means that you've created an economy around that. It means that there is value in that exchange. You exchange a bottle for some value. If you don't bring a bottle, you're not going to get another one. So I think that government needs to be very forward-thinking in terms of policies on plastics, all right? Such that we can, number one, know the amount of plastics that we're producing, who is producing them, what is being used for, where do they start, and where do they end up, right? All there are environmental agencies in different states. Lagos State, I'll talk about that in a minute, and I'm very happy about the partnership we have with that agency. So I think that the role of government is in ensuring that there's the right policy in place, such that you monitor if you produce plastic at every point in time. I need to know how many you have produced, and I need to know where they have ended up.
Yes.
Of course, there are waste management policies and issues, etc., around that need to be tweaked. All of those rules, laws, and policies are in place. We just probably need enforcement, and that's where the government and the government agencies, also come in. So that's the first dimension. The second dimension is in the commercial space, business and finance. All right, in my religion, I say money answers all things, right? Now, the private sector is very, very important in every sphere of our lives. And this speaks to my being the chief cleaner of Nigeria. Currently, I'm the national president of the Cleaning Practitioners Association. And I'm very proud of the work that we're doing, particularly Lagos State is taking the lead. And that's why I was excited when I thought Dr. Fashawa was going to be here, because as a Cleaning Practitioners Association of Nigeria, we've actually established an MOU with the Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency, and to support and work with them in the work they are doing on plastic for cash and all of those type of things. Okay. Where do we come in, and where does the private sector come in? Because we, as cleaners, we're probably across the country, maybe we have about 1 million people working for us, right? And we clean offices, we clean, Now, if there is a policy and practice in that space that ensures that from the point of generating and disposing the waste in the offices is properly sorted, all right? And if this is plastic, plastic must go here, right? We sort our waste. We need to be educated. We need to be empowered. We, the cleaners here, we need to be educated. We need to be empowered. And so our customers in the private sector need to understand that, so that we work in partnership to ensure that plastic does not end in the wrong place. If we manage it at the point of producing the waste or generating the waste, it goes to the right place, right? And then the ones that you are going to resell, the one you are going to recycle, the ones, etc., that happens to that. And finally, I keep saying that we have responsibilities as citizens. Every citizen has a responsibility. 3 years ago, the CPAN started a 10-year program that we called Clean Up and Green Up, all right? Just think about it. Someone says that if everybody cleans their doorstep, the world will be a clean place, all right? So part of the simple thing we're trying to advocate is let each person have a responsibility for cleaning up their internal spaces, and by law, by practice, and a portion of the front of their building, whether it's their gutters, whether it's the road, etc., okay? So that we have an environment that is clean,
right.
that is clean, yeah.
Come on, talk about.
So waste to wealth is a term that we've become familiar with, because some countries and some activists have been able to effectively monetize waste. And within the system in Nigeria, we know that money has helped in reducing, helped create the economy of picking up those plastics from the road. What would you say would be the right approach to improve on that concept of, let's not stop people from, like creating the cleaners and letting cleaners know they can earn money, additional money from sorting the trash, and it is not illegal, it's not a side gig, it is a formal way to earn bonuses. As a cleaner anywhere in Nigeria, if they are able to sort the trash and then convert the waste into wealth.
All right, thank you very much, Tokpe. You asked the question and, you pretty much answered it. But an additional point I would just want to make is this. Waste to wealth, we hear a lot of, all this. I run away from sound bites because sometimes, you lose the substance of what you're trying to say. Basically, I think we've started in terms of some of these initiatives of exchanging waste plastics for cash, etc. But it's still a bit of a token because fundamentally, we do not have the institutional framework to drive the plastic economy. All right. So what I think that needs to be done in that space is that let us encourage people to keep doing this so that there is an economy. It makes a lot of sense. But like I keep saying, it is when there is adequate control and line of sight of every plastic bottle that is produced. We know where it starts and we know where it ends. And that's why I brought up the issue of the bottles in the first instance. Then it becomes a cycle, and until that economy makes sense to the private sector, they control our lives. Until the private sector sees value in doing it, it will remain a token because it's going to be me and my cleaners struggling to get 50 naira and 500 naira. No. If a guy knows that if he doesn't account for his plastic, LASEPA comes in and he gets a fine of 20 million. Trust me, he will force me, the cleaner, to do the right thing. Beyond the fact that I'm just picking up bottles to get, bits here and there.
I like the fact that you mentioned that because I know that the plastic industry is a very huge one. We have multinationals from different countries set up, especially in places like Ota, where they have factory for their plastics and they churn out in millions on a daily basis. And I'm wondering, because if you go back to the households, when we go to shop, sometimes we prefer to have the plastic bags instead of the paper bags because the plastic bags are more durable. They last more. So instead of, before I get home, it's torn from the car, there's nothing I can do with it, I rather request for the plastic bag. How do we begin to have this conversation across homes and schools for our children to understand that we can begin to insist that this is what is better for our environment than just going for the one that would be more durable for us?
All right. Thank you. Again, comes back to our responsibilities as citizens. So the first thing is, what do we need to recycle? What do we need to replace, right? Again, if, I know that people here travel abroad, right? When you go abroad and you buy stuff in a store, they will tell you if you want a bag, you pay a nickel more. You pay a nickel for the bag. Yeah. If you want this type of bag, you pay a little bit more. Now, so if I go into any of the shops, Spar, ShopRite, wherever, and I already know that it's going to cost me a little bit more to get the plastic bag. And then if there is if there is value in, if I bring my own bag, I get an incentive. So it's multi-dimensional. But we as the people, because we are the ones everywhere, we need to be informed and educated to know that, let me tell you, no matter what you say to me, right, that I'm poor about the environment, it means nothing to me.
Exactly.
It means absolutely nothing to me. But if I see an incentive that makes me behave in a particular manner that hits my belly or my pocket, then it makes sense. And that's what our responsibilities are. We can inform and advocate as much as you want. You can tell my cleaners as much as you want that this is good for the environment. Paper is better than this. It means nothing to that fellow. If he doesn't see that if I do this, this is what I get in return, either positively, and if I don't do the right thing, then I get a reprimand. I think those are the levers of control that we need to put in everything that we do.
So you see, when we're talking environment, sometimes it seems like we talk about the heads of some people. So it's always important for us to break it down. I'd like us to go back to the idea of start to finish, knowing where the plastic is going. So you're saying, for example, if I'm selling plastic bottles, right, and I sell to BC maybe 3 cartons of plastic, if she's going to come back again, she must come back with that 3 empty cartons to me to buy another 3 bags. So if she likes, she can keep that 3 cartons in her house. That's her business. Whenever she wants to have a party night, she wants to do a big party. Hopefully she engages somebody that has multiple cartons or who has a credit limit with Mr. John and say, okay, Mr. John, I'm going to be taking 20 cartons from you and I'm going to promise to return the 20 cartons. So her cleaners after the party are picking up bagging it, making sure they go back. So when I go back to Mariam, okay, please take your 20 cartons. So that's the next step. So it's clear. So that's what you're proposing because these cleaners can then see that there's value.
When we had
bottles. Okay. All right.
Yes, I was just going to maybe make a case for Lagos State. I know that they are constantly having the conversation on recycling. Recycling is actually a huge money-making business. But a lot of what we do or we're aware of is the subsistence, pick up a bottle and take it. But there are people who have storages and they're just waiting for these bottles and they export them actually. But we don't have so many. And I've heard the Lagos State government say we need more people in that industry to do that. So the conversation is to let that person pick in 1 bottle, 2 bottles, to know that you can upscale that business to something bigger. You can be a millionaire just by doing that recycling business. So I just wanted to put that out there to show that government is, but in Nigeria, it seems like it's a Lagos State conversation. It's not so widespread, you know. It's not, this education needs to be across Nigeria. I don't really hear that conversation everywhere. In the north, yes, we have the collecting the bottles. We've done it even long before the conversation of climate change or anything. It's just been a way, but always at a small level, you know.
Please, I wanted to throw in a question, though, because we have many people that are studying environmental environmental biology in our schools, and there's this gap between town and gown. And I think that sometimes it might be difficult to talk to the politicians, but you're an individual. Your organization does not have any tenure that is expiring. How do you think we can bridge that gap where we get our people from the schools, the thousands of people that were releasing, or millions, who knows, that were releasing into not looking for work within the banking sector and other sector, but they are able to maximize, they see the value chain of what they study and how they can solve local problems within the environment of Nigeria?
Okay, so that's a big one. It's a big one in the sense that it's a microcosm or a small representation of a bigger, challenge in the society. What is our education? What are we producing? How is it meeting our needs as a society? So whether it's in the environment where I play or in healthcare, where my life is primarily, or as a cleaner, it's the same, it runs across. Now, I really think we have fundamental challenges in our education and in our healthcare. And I think that's a discussion or a conversation, for another day or for another season. But what I will say is this. I think this is one point, and I will use an example which may not be totally related may not be a direct answer to your question, is we need a radical approach as a people led by policy and government to transform and translate a lot of the things that we're doing, because we need to make a drastic change of direction. Let me explain. For instance, I'm a facility manager. When you need, even private people, there are some masons you need or some handymen that you need, and you're going to Togo and all of those funny places, yet you have tons of people around here because maybe we're not educating and skilling the people that we need in that regard. As a physician, for instance, what is the capacity that people have and the numbers and all of that? So I think that we need a policy, right, that ensures that what is the need out there, we create an economy around it, because when people are not earning money, it makes no sense. A plumber in UK may earn more money than a doctor in a year. So why do I want to be a plumber and all of that? I say something. Let me give one example, and I'll rest it there. I'll use an example I always give in healthcare. 2023, healthcare budget is over $1 trillion, right? Yet, that's federal budget. Maybe if we add up all the states to it, maybe we're having close to $2 trillion. Yet we have one of the worst health outcomes in the world. Nigeria and India were responsible for 1/3 of under 5 deaths and things like that. But do you realize that it's because our focus is always on the production side? Our focus is never on the demand side. What do I mean? we're always thinking that healthcare, solution to healthcare is build more hospitals,
More doctors.
you know, build more doctors, pay GOTVs on strike, this on strike. It's going to be a cycle for as long as that's what we're doing. If we take 2 trillion and put it in a pot, just theoretically, do you realize that 2 trillion divided by 200 million people is 10,000 naira? In Lagos State, Lagos leads the way, but we're having conversations across the country. What's happening here? Some of my members in Port Harcourt, in Abuja, are also doing one or two other things. But Lagos State, for instance, has a social health scheme that is 8,500, which means
month.
Per annum. Yes, 42,000 for a family. It's working.
Come here.
Do you know what I just said? It means that if the money government spends today moves away from building hospitals, paying doctors, etc., and it moves into providing service, into paying for health care or health insurance for everyone, it means that with the amount of money we are spending in Nigeria today, Nigeria can afford to give everybody that health insurance, which is almost like free. Because that is exactly how much we're spending. And then the private sector will have an incentive to be the one providing the health care. Just like what we do in our health insurance. You don't care what the doctors are doing. You just pay your HMO and you go into a hospital. So that is the kind of radical thinking that we need in our health, we need in our education, and we need the political will to step in front of it. Making promises to make further payments on this or that. It's not going to solve the problem. It's not going to solve the problem. We don't have the money. 77 trillion in debt. Where are we going to get the money from? So
if you insure everybody, and everybody knows that whenever they go to the healthcare system, they get it. And that money is in circulation. The doctors are complaining they don't have money. But if money is in circulation, insurance makes money. It will flow round.
Pay the doctors.
It's not flowing round.
If doctors know that 2 trillion is available to be paid for their services, I trust you, they will run back.
Interesting.
Who we advise them
We
by?
have to.
We have already advised them.
We're saying that we can't stop them from leaving, but we can bring them incentive to come back. So we said that on the show. Thank you so much, sir. It was a pleasure having you. We have to wrap up on that.
Thank you very much.
Chief cleaner of Nigeria. I like that. Good to have you on the show.